Okay, Abotai, here we are in Or Natan, and we have now the privilege to do a little Mussar, a little idea, Dvar Torah, sort of to get us into this week of Shabbat Parashat Bamidbar. Bamidbar, we're starting a new book. Okay, this class also is Nishmat, Ochil, Eliyahu, Ben Surya, Bemer Hai, Ben Rahel. The Neshamot should have an Aliyah, the Shegam Chai, Chai, Beganel. Vegam? Anachana? Bat Yeshua. Also should have an Aliyah. Okay, Rabotai, here is one of my favorite stories. Listen to this one. In a small town, there were only 10 Jewish families. And they had exactly 10 men. And every day, everyone made sure they came to the shul for minyan. Every single day. Even though the guy was tired, he was sleepy, he was this, he was that, he came to the shul in the morning because he knew that they depended on him. And one day, there was a big mazal tov in the community. The 11th family moved in. And they came with 2 men. The father and the son were bar mitzvah. Everybody was so excited. The next morning, no minyan. What happened? It's not only on me anymore. I got other people that they can worry about, so I can take it easy. And there's no minyan. So you think about it. This week, Parashat Bamidbar in English. What's the name of the book? The book of Numbers. Why is it the book of Numbers? We count the Jews there. Now, first thing we just saw, when you have numbers of people, the individuality is lost. I don't feel that responsibility anymore because there's people. There's the famous they. They will come. They will do. Someone will do, right? Like people always say this. Who's coming? They. Who's the they? You and me are they, right? But they. So that's an issue. Number 2, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, he says another big issue about grouping people together. He says, you know what happens when people get grouped together? People start to do what's called herd mentality. Okay? Herd mentality is where the person stops thinking for himself. Okay? One of the great things about Judaism, about learning Torah and stuff like that, is that one Humash, and how many Mefarshim, how many explanations you have to it? It's because every rabbi used his own brain and didn't just say, let me listen to the other guy says. Let me think. That's what happened. The Chachamim tell us the same way I can't be upset that this guy's nose is different than mine. All your nose, I can't be upset that people think different than me. But what happens in today's culture, in today's society, especially with media, and especially with social media, they've taken away people's ability to think individually. That's why everybody is either a never Trumper or everyone is the other side is a pro Trumper, and no one can think that this side's good and that side has, and this is okay and this is from here. Very few individuals, and those people are hated by all because you're not in the right herd. You're not in this pack and you're not in that pack. All right? But the idea is that the person is thinking individually. And says Rav Jonathan Sachs, one of the issues of putting people into numbers and categories is that everybody becomes part of this herd mentality. And he talks about, there was apparently in Holland, there was a time that became what's called a tulip mania, where people went crazy for a tulip, that a simple tulip cost thousands of dollars. And it was going on for years. Until someone woke up and said, hey, this is just a flower. And then they reminded themselves that it wasn't worth so much. Okay? Apparently in South Africa, it happened as well with the ostrich feathers. People went crazy for it. And it happens every time. There's a new moda, new fashion, and everybody goes crazy for it. And they're like, what is it? It's just a piece of clothing. All right? It's just a belt. And people are willing to spend thousands. I mean, today's tech, right? People sit outside to get the newest device, all right? Spend thousands of dollars on it. What are they doing? Right? It's because everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. You got to do it because everybody's doing it. So there's an issue of putting people in groups and counting people and saying this is the number and taking away the individualism of a person. So then the question begs to be asked, so why are we counting Jews? And why is this the book of Numbers? And We're counting again and again how many Jews there are, how many in each tribe. Maybe counting people and putting them into numbers is not a good thing. We want individuals. We want people to take responsibility. We want people to be separate-minded and thinking. So what are we doing? So the first thing is very important to read is that when the Pasuk says, when you take the census of the children of Israel, according to the numbers, every man shall give an atonement for his soul when counting them. Right? We don't want anything to happen. But then it also says that you should pick them up and you should count them b'mispar shemot, by their name. Counting by the name. Meaning, we're not just counting for counting, but we're counting them to a name. And now when we're counting them, we're picking them up when we're counting them. You know, some people need the spotlight. Right? Everybody needs attention. Right? No one wants to, I mean, some people might want to be that way, but no one really wants to be unnoticed. There are times you don't want to be noticed. But at the same time, everyone wants to have attention. Everyone wants to be noticed. And that was part of the count. Was tell everybody, you matter. You make a difference. We notice you. You're not just sitting in the back of the shul, coming late, leaving early, no one sees you. Don't bother me, I don't bother you. I come for tefillah, I walk out. Don't ask me for anything. No. We want to realize, hey, we see you. And we know who your father was. And we know where you come from. And we know what you're doing. Se'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Pick up them. And that's why it had to be Moshe and Aaron counting. And the Nesiei Shevet Israel and the princes. They had to do the count. You don't want to be counted by the U.S. Census Bureau people that come and say how many people are here. Right? You want to be counted by the officials who matter. By those who are in charge. Because then you feel that they're doing something. So there was an idea to the count, to give people, not to make them lost in the number, to say you have a name, you have a voice, you count, you make a difference. Now, there is a halakha that's brought down in Hilchot of Kashrut when dealing with bittul. Okay, so bittul, for example, common case, if someone dropped a drop of milk into a meat soup. So we look at what's called 1/60th, right? So if there's 60th more, batul b'shisha, right?
Good to use.
And that's in liquids. And if it's dry things, you might just need bittul barov. You need 1 to 2, okay? You have to learn all the halachot when these apply, but such concepts exist. Bittul barov, nullified in a majority. Bittul b'shisha, nullified in 60. What about, there are certain dinim that we say that they're not bottle afilu be'elef, even in 1,000, even in much more. Pesach, right? That chametz afilu be'mashu, okay? But there is, one of the halachot is that davar shebeminyan, something that's counted, something that you buy by count. Okay? For example, how do you buy eggs? By a dozen. Okay? How do you buy fruit? By weight. You don't buy by the grape. No one's counting how many grapes you're getting. You buy by the weight. So different. So we have a halacha that's something that is b'minyan, something that is counted out. Okay? Davar shebeminyan enu batel afilu be'elef. Does not become batel even in 1,000. Okay, therefore if you have one tameh egg in all the other eggs that are kosher, you have a problem there. You can't be mevatel it. It stays all going to be an issue. All going to be a problem. Because it's something that is counted. So say our chachamim, how did we Jews survive as being Jews throughout the centuries, throughout the years? We're so little, we're so tiny. And everybody hates us. As I heard recently from a journalist who we can still call a journalist, Douglas Murray, and he was talking about England, and he was saying, when the Jews first came to England, we hated them because they were poor. And then they got rich, so we hated them because they got rich. All right, and then we hated them because they were Jewish. But then we couldn't hate because of people who had a religion, because we became more refined. So we hated them because they didn't have a state. But then they got a state, so we hated them because they had a state. All right, so anti-Semitism keeps evolving. All right, they're always going to hate us. So how are we still around? How do we survive? Chachamim tell us. Davar shabiminyan, something that's counted. Eno mivatel afilu be'elef. It never becomes batel. Hashem counts us. Hashem counts us over and over and over again. He loves us so much. And if something that goes by counting, never could be batel. That's why we're still around. We can't become batel. We are counted. That's how special we are, that we're counted by Hashem over and over and over again. And to end with one story that sort of puts this all together, there was two brothers, and they grew up and they lived at two opposite ends of the world. One brother, he was living in Bamidbar, and he had 15 children with no money. And the other brother was living in the United States, became a multi-millionaire, nice big house, mansion, multiple properties, no children at all. So he reaches out to his brother in Israel and says, listen, I know you have no money, and you know I have no children. I have a proposition for you. He says, give me one child, I'll treat him like my own child, I'll take good care of them, and I'll give you $3 million. And I'll continue to help you afterwards after that as well. He hangs up with his brother, he comes to his wife, he says to his wife, listen, we got 15 kids. We have no money. He's going to go there and he's not going to forget about us. He's going to live with them as my brother. He's going to take care of him. What do you think? They're thinking. They say, yeah, listen, tell your brother, okay? But we need time to figure it out. Which one we're going to take away, right? Some of you already know which one you're going to send away. Okay, but he says, I need time to figure it out. So he says, okay, I'll give you 2 weeks. I'll get you tickets, look at everything set up. So it's the night before and they still haven't figured it out. So they walk into each room. And they decide they're not going to do it. So they call the brother and they tell the brother, listen, it's not happening. He says, why not? You have 15 kids. I told you, I'll take one, I'll give you millions of dollars and I'll continue to support you. They said, no. The whole deal was because we thought we had 15 kids. We don't. We have one Moshe, we have one Rivka, we have one Yosef, we have one David, we have one Tzipporah, we have one Tziviyah, we have one of each. We don't have 15. We have one of each. When something is counted, it's not batel. You can't say it's in a mix. Every single one is counted. So therefore, Rabotai, when it comes to Shavuot, and we're not going to meet next Tuesday night because it's already Shavuot night. But it's important to realize that every one of us was at Har Sinai. No one skipped it. Everybody was there. And everybody gets the Torah, and we say, Sim chelkenu b'toratach, v'ten chelkenu b'toratach. Give us our portion of Torah, because we all have it, because we're all counted. And we say in the Havat Olam every single day, Et kol devrei tamud toratecha be'ahava. Hashem, let me know all the Torah. So I don't know why people sell themselves short and say, I'm not going to be able to learn that or learn this. You're saying it every morning. I want to learn, Et kol devrei tamud toratecha. That's everything that's here and more. Okay, go to Beis Medrash Gavoa and look at all the Sfarim. You're davening to understand all that. But since we're counted, we have the ability, and Hashem will give us the ability to do it, but we have to have the ratzon. So, B'ezrat Hashem, wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, Toda Rabba L'Kol.